Welcome back, space friends. This is CSP Fozzie again, joined by Bacchanalian, and we are bringing you Ushrakan versus Test Alliance. Please ignore the next match of the first day of the 12th Alliance tournament. Why don't you tell us a little bit about these setups we've got coming up for us, Bacchanalian?
Well, we got Ushrakan here in a double Rattlesnake, Nighthawk, Scimitar setup with 2 Malediction, 3 Hawks, and 3 Worms as support. And, interestingly, Ushrakan did not declare a flagship. I think this would be a setup where a flagship Rattlesnake might benefit them. And we do have Test Alliance in a double Sleipnir Scimitar triple Gila combo, again with Worms, Raptor, and some Merlins as support.
Yeah, I love the use of the Sleipnirs in the tournament. I actually think this Sleipnir Gila combo is a pretty strong one. It's one of those, and it can be used with a Claymore as well, or with another set of ships in that command ship slot. Gives you a lot of mobility combined with the huge DPS that the Gilas and the Sleipnirs have.
It looks like Ushrakan came in 1 point short. Test starts the match with 1 point. We have a case here again of a team putting all their eggs in a few baskets. You've got 2 Rattlesnakes and a Nighthawk as most of the DPS. I guess those Worms can crack out 300, 350 DPS, but really compared to 2 Sleipnirs and 3 Gilas, you've got much more spread on your damage on the Test team.
Yep, a target painter and damp's already been applied to Dante's Scimitar of Test Alliance. It's likely he's going to be the first target that they're going to try to shoot at. We'll see how effective they are in it, although we're already seeing, we're seeing quite a bit of damage coming in him, and also a bunch of damage going to Ugleb's Scimitar for Ushrakan as well.
Well, it looks like the Scimitar actually on the other side, on the Test side, has been scrammed. All 3 Hawks were scrammed for Ushrakan. Those aren't showing up on the UI, it looks like, but we do have frigates getting scrammed all over the place, so definitely this is everyone going in deep with the support. Scimitar for Ugleb already into armor. Meanwhile, Dante Saronis just lost his shields and his Scimitar as well, so they might trade here, although it looks like Ushrakan will be a little bit behind on that, and that Scimitar first one does drop for Ushrakan.
Yeah, Dante's tank is holding up a lot better. It looks like he had a more effective shield booster going. I did see a shield boost right at the end for Ugleb, but it was too little too late. It was right when he was in structure. I didn't see anything before that. And Dante's going to have to try to get some more range if he wants to pull away from the damage being dealt by these Rattlesnakes.
Yeah, he's definitely in a precarious position right now. He's obviously, it looks like ASB tanked. He's at half armor. Eventually, that's going to have to reload. And meanwhile, it looks like the Nighthawk is the next target for Test to fire on. And really, I think that Scimitar will probably run out of charges before that Nighthawk goes down. Meanwhile, we have a Hawk on the Ushrakan side going, and there goes the Scimitar. So both sides loduless now.
So the choice of the Nighthawk next, that will knock down the Lynx, but if they had picked off some of these frigates that were tackling their Scimitar, they might have been able to keep him alive. That being said, though, the Nighthawk is dropping into armor now. We're seeing him, there he goes, and he's going to be dropping pretty quickly. So that'll be the shield Lynx off the field for Ushrakan, which should make the rest of their team a lot easier to kill.
And a Worm joins him in explosion there. Leslie Moffat, Raptor, is taking a bit of damage, and then we have Faith Sleipnir on the Test Alliance side. Looks like he's about to enter armor as well, but Ushrakan 1 step behind here all the way.
Yeah, the Raptor did go down, but he's still around actually. Yep,
another Worm. Or a Hawk that just went down there.
Seems like an odd choice as a primary, a Raptor that's not scrambling any of your, that's not anywhere near the rest of your team to be causing any problems. But now they've actually gone after the Sleipnir, which is a much more viable target.
And Faith Sleipnir is struggling, even with his ASB pumping. He's into structure. We have another Hawk down for Ushrakan. Worm now taking damage. Hawk into armor. Both of those frigates look like they're not long for this world. And Faith Sleipnir still hanging
holding on. He's no longer webbed, so he is pulling speed, and he is just barely holding on. It looks like he's gone into reload on his ASB, though, because I'm no longer seeing boosts. He's just losing bits of structure. Yeah, I have a feeling he's about to. There he goes, off the field, and that's a big chunk of DPS gone for Test, but they still have another Sleipnir and 3 Gilas, which is a lot of hitting power.
Well, and again, not to underestimate those Worms. The 3 of them together put out quite a bit of damage, probably on border with the Sleipnir. So you're really looking at just a ton of damage still, and they should be able to chew through these Rattlesnakes. The question is, can these Rattlesnakes break down anything before they go down? We see that Malediction now stripped of shields. Another frigate is down for a Worm down on the Test side. But Ushrakan's first Rattlesnake is into about 2/3 shields and not really repping as effectively as you might expect.
That Worm actually was killed for a boundary violation. That was a piloting mistake on the Test Worm. That's a good amount of DPS that he's no longer bringing to the fight because of that. That being said, though, it's a DPS race at the moment. Philip is the Rattlesnake for Ushrakan is going through shields quickly, and so is Major Templar, the Test Alliance Gila.
Really not a good trade for Ushra Khan here. If they lose a Rattlesnake just to kill a Gila, you really, I mean, maybe if you take out the Sleipnir, that's an okay trade, but one Rattlesnake against the rest of the other team, the test team, is just not going to be effective. And that Gila does die, but the Rattlesnake now deep into armor, about to go into structure and explode himself.
Yeah,
And that'll leave one Rattlesnake against most of a test team here.
These Rattlesnakes also aren't locally boosting, so that fact actually gives me the feeling that the Sleipnir could probably solo this last Rattlesnake, because the ability of an active tank to pull back the damage against a single battleship hitting you is pretty effective, while that Rattlesnake, even if you're just picking away at him, he will eventually die.
We did see that again early on. I think it might have been a Rattlesnake that was up against just a couple frigates and cruiser, and he was passive. As a result, he died. I don't remember exactly who that was, but this is kind of the downfall of a passive tank. Once you're losing HP, you've lost HP. And okay, I have a Merlin on the test side taking significant damage in the structure, probably going to die. Gila now into about 1/3 shields, but the Rattlesnake is joining him in the 1/3 shields. Merlin's off the field. It looks like the Gila and Rattlesnake may go down at the same time.
Yeah, and that'll be pretty much the end of it. These maledictions are the ones running around killing the Merlins and the Worms, and actually the Worm of the Boundary Violation, but killing the Merlins. But they're not going to be able to take down the Gilas or the Sleipnirs. So once this Rattlesnake drops down, as he goes into armor, and of course as a Garista ship, he's not going to survive too long in armor. It's going to be all she wrote for Ushra Khan in the winners bracket.
You know, I was saying that earlier that this is an interesting match because both of these teams are teams that have done well before in the past, and they're also both teams who have done poorly in the past. So it was interesting to see who's going to come out swinging harder, and it looks like Test brought the superior setup and executed better than Ushra Khan here. So Ushra Khan looked to be dropping into the losers bracket.
Mm-hmm. That being said, I think it's a fairly respectable showing for Ushra Khan. They're not a lot of the people that have dropped in the losers bracket today have done so due to some pretty subpar setups, some bad piloting choices. Ushra Khan looking like a team that could go decently far in the losers bracket. They're not going to be one that I would consider an easy stepping stone if I was facing them down there. I was a little bit worried that they might not perform very well after they didn't bother to submit a flagship this year, but obviously they did decide to bring out some nice ships and bring together a setup that actually works coherently.
Well, perhaps that was just next level meta from them. It's something beyond our understanding. But that last Malediction is at about half armor, and this match will be over before too long. So he's got a Raptor right on his tail. So,
so that's going to bring us to the end of this match. Our next match is going to be Tactical Narcotics Team versus Nest of Vipers. And then after that will be what is definitely one of the most anticipated matches of this day, Low Section Shalupin versus the Camel Empire, who everyone is expecting to do very well since they performed so excellently as Thingy in the New Eden Open too.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see how they come out. Again, I think I put them up there along with the kind of second tier of elites like Exodus, guys who have legitimate shot to go all the way but haven't quite made it in the past.
Yeah, so it'll be great to see how they do here. I mean, they've had an amazing showing in that tournament, but that was their first tournament showing at all. So seeing whether they can actually follow that up with a second good showing will be very interesting for sure.
Let's see what that Malediction's still kiting around. Looks like he does have an active armor tank because he is back to full armor despite having structure damage. And the Raptor's still, doggedly following him around. But it looks like the Malediction has finally slowed down 560 to the almost 4,000 that the Raptor was doing. He's now overtaken him. Perhaps he's finally decided that surrender is the honorable choice here.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of good fights and salutes in local, wishing each other luck in the rest of the tournament. These guys definitely have no hard feelings here.
And it looks like the proper pronunciation is Losek Naya Sholupin. That's according to Stream Chat. We'll see.
There we go.
That's quite a mouthful.
It does make sense. Yeah. I'm not sure how they're going to perform, but they definitely have rolled a pretty unlucky first opponent.
Yeah, and sometimes that can make or break your tournament. You start out against a really tough team, and even if you you go farther into the losers bracket, that morale blow of losing the very first match, it's really important. You come out not just to stay in the winners bracket to win that first match, but to really get confidence. If you have new pilots, if you have people who've worked really, really hard for weeks and weeks, maybe months, and to come out and just kind of lose that first match is really a blow to morale. So it's important to come out and strong.
hmm We've been seeing a lot of teams that look like they're putting potentially more effort into these early matches than they have in the past. A lot of flagships being brought out in the beginning, a lot of pretty strong setups, and teams kind of going all in. And it'll be interesting to see how much that might be motivated partially by the new prize structure. But we'll talk a little bit more about that later, because for now, that is the end of the match as the malediction explodes. So we will send you to some more of these wonderful player created ads, and then we'll be right back for Tactical Narcotics Team versus a Nest of Vipers.
For day 4, that means that pretty much only the good teams and Test Alliance are left.
Test Alliance, please ignore. Worst of the best.
Delicious spaghetti you eat while waiting for your prey to put its shiny paw into his career. So you always let jump, and let the body hit the floor, and that is how the boom boom.
a nest of vipers in this next Alliance Tournament 12 match. And we've got, as Back said before the match started here, just between us, a match of firsts. There's a lot of first times in this tournament so far. First Navy Dominix, first Ishtars, first Celestis and Flycatcher, first Paladins, first Garmers. These are two pretty cool setups. It's pretty interesting to see what they're going to be doing with it. Why don't you tell us a little bit about them, Back?
Well, yeah, the Nest of Vipers team has turned out with a Paladin, 3 Tengus, Scimitar, Talwar, 2 Garmers, and a Kestrel. So they have quite a strong support wing. We were discussing also earlier the fact that there's almost a 2 different team setup. The Paladin kind of on its own, and the rest of the team plays a kitey role. And meanwhile, the TNT team has showed up with the 2 Navy Dummies, Scimitar, Ishtar, 2 Vexor Navies, Celestis, and Flycatcher. And I really were discussing the Flycatcher being an effective anti-support ship, but against 3 frigates and a Talwar, it's probably not the best matchup for a Flycatcher. So he's going to need help from those Vexors.
And the match has begun, and actually bad news for TNT. Already the first damp symbol has appeared on your screen, and it's appeared on the Celestis. So that means that one of the frigates for Nest of Vipers was able to actually outlock that Celestis, get damps on it before it could get damps on the other team. And that's one of the great advantages of using frigates for damping as opposed to the cruisers, is that when the frigates win that lock war, they prevent the cruisers from actually applying their damps at all.
Damage going down on Talwar and the Ishtar, but that's something we were discussing as well, is also the lack of, maybe they were short pilots. Why do you put so many points in one pilot into a Celestis when you can bring, say, 3 Mollis or carries or whatever it may be? So, and that's a disadvantage right there. You have all your E-War on one ship.
Yeah.
So.
They have now applied their damps, but only to one of the Tengus. That's not going to make a gigantic difference. As we see, there you go, the Kestrel going down, so knocking down one of the frigates. That probably the Flycatcher played a pretty big part of that. And if they can pick off these Garmers and Talwar as well, then that's going to really help them reduce some of this mobile damage that the Nest of Vipers team is bringing.
Yeah, the Flycatcher is really under fire here, and got knocked all the way to structure, but the Scimitar managed to get reps back on, and really it's the difference between the support war right now is he, I guess, try to kite away to get a little bit of range. Tengu of Johnny Tomala taking an enormous amount of damage, actually. He's at shields already very, very quickly. And meanwhile, Oxygen O2's Ishtar is about half shields as well.
Yeah, I said before this match that this felt like it was two different teams for the Nest of Vipers, where they had the Paladin and the mobile missile team. But the mobile missile team is not being mobile. They're just staying around the Paladin. They're not actually taking advantage of the fact that they can act in a completely different way than the Paladin is. And that, I think, is really hurting them. They're staying at a place where they know they're taking damage from these bouncers that have been dropped by TNT. Why not get somewhere else? Get in closer, because the Navy Dominixes don't have the tracking bonus like the normal Dominixes. Get further away because they don't have the optimal bonus, although the fall off kind of helps with that. There's all these things they could be doing, but instead they're just sitting around essentially orbiting their Paladin.
It makes me wonder if they're perhaps the Tengu's A-B fit. I mean, I feel like I recognize the subs on this. With MWD, you can get going pretty fast with this, but they're going about 1,100. Meanwhile, Ishtar goes down there. We have the first Tengu, however, and he is off the field. So we trade an Ishtar for a Tengu, which I don't think is an advantageous trade for Nest of Vipers there. And their second Tengu is still kind of struggling in shields there.
Yeah, I mean, if these Tengus keep dropping, that's going to be very, very bad news for them. The Tengu that's taking fire is actually the one that's further away. They have one Tengu that's gotten in right up close and is basically just orbiting at much closer range to the other team. And he, so far, has been able to keep himself alive pretty effectively. It doesn't look like these bouncers are hitting him all that well. But the Navy Dominis are burning right towards him. So we've got 2 Navy Dominis have turned on their micro-warp drives and are going to try to get tackle on this Tengu. It's a pretty impressive sight to behold, these 2 big battleships bearing down on a cruiser.
Yeah, and the Cassius Invictus Paladin now has decided to target Shimozu Shinta and the Dominix Navy issue. You can see his lasers starting to strip the shields down. And, you know, lasers being very effective against a shield tank, especially on a Dominix Navy, which doesn't have inherently high shield resistances. They may be a good choice of tactic there.
Yeah, I mean, he's not going down too quickly, but he's going down slowly and surely. So if they can take him down before they lose Bars in the Tengu, then they might be in decent shape. But that being said, Bars is tackled completely. He's got these 2 Navy Dominis. These Dominis are blaster fit. That's the big advantage a Navy Domini has as opposed to normal Dominix. The Navy Domini has a big damage bonus to guns as well as the drone bonus. It actually is more similar to what the Dominix used to be years ago, and just deals an incredible amount of damage.
See, this is where the support war needs to be won. What I think Nesta Vipers need to be doing right now is taking advantage of the fact the Scimitar is busy keeping that Dominic's Navy issue up. Go for that Flycatcher. It looks like they're starting to do that. But if you shred that Flycatcher, you start to stress the Scimitar. Does the Scimitar have to make a choice? Does he rep the Flycatcher or the Navy Dummy, or try to do both? That Tengu of Bars 13 now into armor, however, so that may be a little too late for that tactic. Dominic's Navy issue of Shimozu Shinta is holding at half shields, half armor for Bars 13, dropping and dropping farther and farther into towards structure. Tiny little bits of shield coming back. There he is into structure. One more fire and he'll be down.
There he
is
goes.
Down.
Yeah, and Shimozu in his Dominic's Navy issue is holding on. I'm seeing active shield boosting from him. It's likely he has an ASB as well as having the Scimitar for logistics. So he's actually tanking quite well. You don't usually hear about Navy Dommies being great shield tankers, but it does the job in a small team environment like this.
Oh, there goes the Celestis getting some of those damps off the field. Flycatcher amazingly still holding on, taking damage, but alive. The Talwar now looking like he's about to bleed structures. Scimitar going to work on him. And now a Garmer, half shields. We may see the first of these explode. That would be fantastic. Shiny little frigates. There goes the Talwar. Vexor Navy issue of Shaz taking some shield damage now. That looks like the Nesta Vipers team are really trying to probe and see if they can break through onto one of these TNT ships.
Yeah, if they can kill off these Vexor Navy issues, that'll help reduce the damage quite a bit. VNIs do quite a lot of damage for the points, but they're also very vulnerable, both in that their drones can be stripped off them quite easily. They don't have extra drone bay, and also they don't have a ton of hit points. So they make a good target in a lot of these matches. That being said, though, if they can't break the Navy Dommies, like the Navy Dommies have proven that they can take all the damage Nesta Vipers can throw at them, that's not going to be good for the long term. The only way Nesta Vipers can win this match is if the Paladin essentially out-tanks and manages to win them on points. But if it can't kill the Navy Dommies, it's not going to do that.
It looks like Ronan Ferna is under heavy fire now as well. He's starting to lose shields. I'm going to test his tank, see his ASB cycles. Gosh, I think he cycled that just a little bit early. When you boost all the way back to 100%, it's likely that you're actually wasting some of that boost, and it's better wait a little bit longer. Flycatcher of Papusa now, his shields are almost gone, and he's really only structured after that. Probably no damage control, so maybe one volley from something solid. Shas Vexor Navy issue under fire from the Paladin. It's still holding on to his shields. The Scimitar's doing a good job of keeping him alive.
Yeah, Paposa's, wow, he got another rep of shields in from the Scimitar, so he's holding on fine. He loses a bit of structure and then comes back. These Garmers are doing their very best to kill him, but so far unsuccessfully.
The drones from the Dummies, it looks like the Ogre 2s have reached that Paladin. The Dummies are bearing down on him, closing in. Have Newt supplied, it appears, and that Paladin is starting to struggle. He's taking good chunks of damage. Shas Vexor Navy issue also into half armor. Papusa's still fighting. You got a little bit more structure gone, but the shield's still coming back in.
You see that Paladin there, he's repping up almost half of his armor in one burst when he does get the reps off, probably with an ancillary armor repair. There he goes. But once that runs out of charges, it's going to rep a lot less than it would normally. So that's going to probably allow those Dommies the ability to kill it, because they're up right close now. They're doing all their damage with blasters and with drones all at the same time.
Yeah, the Vexor Navy for Shaz now into low structure. Garmer holding at half shields for Ibanez M. And Papusa finally succumbs after a very long struggle. Vexor Navy issue goes down along with him, and Cassis Invictus is back to 100% armor. Meanwhile, Tengu of Johnny Tamala back taking some damage. They're trying to probe to see if they can get through him. Right, and another Garmer taking damage.
You know what's kind of amazing? We've talked about all of these ships exploding. The point values right now are exactly even. At the moment, both teams have exactly 37 points.
We got to be about 2 minutes.
We have 2 minutes and 6 seconds left. Honestly, this match will likely go to time, so it does now come down to who is going to be able to win that points war. Now we're under 2 minutes. The Vexor Navy of Jaggerjack taking some damage. And interestingly, TNT has decided to just give up on shooting the Paladin.
Yeah, I mean, that is an interesting choice because, like you said, once he's out of charges, he's in trouble there. They're now going for the Scimitar instead of Johnny Tamala. Let's see if they can break Ronan Ferna down. He is taking more shield damage. I'm not even going to try to pronounce Mr. Jones there's name in the Vexor Navy issue, but he's taking significant damage. Scimitar's holding up, but it seems like he's losing a little bit more every cycle. The Garmer from Mandragora Terra now taking a little bit of damage. Who knows? There's kind of damage going all over the place, just trying to stress out these lodges to see if they can break through.
what we have here is, once again, the two Dami Navy issues are chasing after a Tengu. And you would expect the Tengu to be able to run away with this no problem, but the Damis are gaining. These Damis are shield tanked, they're micro warp drive fed, and they're going just over 1,000 meters a second, while the Tengu is actually going significantly less than that. It just broke up 1,000 now, but it was running at like 500, 600. I think this is a 100 MN afterburner Tengu that was on a turn and started taking some damage because he allowed these Navy Damis to get in close.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen them break 1,200. It was the first time I've seen it break 1,200. Now he's up 1,240. But really, that's just not fast for what I would expect out of that Tengu. Dexter Navy holding up. What happened to the Paladin there?
The Paladin exploded due to a boundary violation. Wow. I didn't even see. He must have had his micro jump drive on.
He was at full armor.
Wow.